Hi. So today I want to talk about um why you shouldn't move to Tokyo. And I'm sure there's a lot of other videos saying the exact same thing, but let me give my experience because I think my experience is pretty unique but also quite relatable in that it's happened to a lot of people, but to those who have never lived in Japan or have only lived in a very rural area in Japan, it might seem like, why would you ever not want to live in Tokyo? There's everything to do ever in Tokyo. You can find every type of restaurant ever in Tokyo, every type of cafe, bar, concert venue, whatever. And that's true. And I'm going to get into why later, why that is still a good thing and why I still want access to those things, but I don't necessarily want to live in Tokyo. So basically, I moved to Tokyo about 2 years ago um, for language school. Before that, I was teaching um, English in a pretty, not exactly rural area, but a much smaller city, very far from Tokyo, a completely different region of Japan. Now, should I plug my computer in? Hold on. There we go. Okay. So completely other region of Japan. Um and so Tokyo just felt like, well, the big city. It felt like this whole new experience and I wanted to experience it. I wanted to stay out late, meet new people, like party, go to cafes, like do all this stuff that was less possible in this smaller city. Not impossible, but like less possible. Meet more foreigners, have more opportunities to speak English outside of work. Um, yeah, so I moved up to Tokyo for language school. Language school was pretty good. It taught me a lot. Um, and for a while, living in Tokyo was good. Um, but I think what really started to get to me was that, like, for months on end, I would go without seeing any, like, real nature. Now, don't get me wrong, Tokyo has a lot of, like, green spaces. It has a lot of parks. It has, like, planted trees on the sidewalk a lot of the time. So it's not terrible. It's not a complete concrete jungle, but all of those, like, green spaces that Tokyo has are all, like, man-made. They're all manicured. None of them are a natural forest or natural phenomena. So that's sort of what started getting to me, is like, this all feels kind of fake. And it started to feel like a fishbowl, like we're all in a terrarium or something, right? And I was getting pretty tired of that feeling. And when once every 2 months I would leave Tokyo, like I probably left it about once every 2 months on average, maybe once a month, and go to Kanagawa or Saitama or wherever, or even somewhere farther, I would always breathe like a literal breath of fresh air. As soon as I got off the train in this new location, I was like, oh shit, the air is legitimately fresher out here. And I forget about it when I live in Tokyo, because in Tokyo, the air seems fine because it's not like super polluted or anything, but it is legitimately like fresher and cleaner outside of Tokyo. And you don't notice it till you experience it. And experiencing that a few times was what basically made me eventually decide to leave Tokyo. Um, and now I live in Kanagawa, pretty close to Tokyo. So again, it's not like I don't have access to all the cool stuff that the city has to offer. I still do. And I really like that. Like, things I like about Tokyo is the access to so many different opportunities, job opportunities, different cultures, foods, like different types of music, or, you know, different types of people, whatever. So that is what's really great about the city, I think. Um, but ultimately, I just started to feel kind of claustrophobic because of what I talked about before with, like, sort of the artificial green space. But not just that, also, Tokyo is just so crammed together. Like, we are just crammed in like sardines, even in less, lively areas that are less lively than Shibuya or Shinjuku, you still feel it. Like, almost everyone's apartment is pretty small, unless you can afford to pay an exorbitant price, at least for Japan, for a normal sized apartment. You're living in like a 1K or like a maybe a 2 room apartment if you're lucky. Um, And I got sick of that. I got sick of being crammed in with all these people all the time, always bumping into people all the time, and paying like basically what I would pay for a normal sized apartment, like a 3-room apartment anywhere else. I was paying for a minuscule 1 room slash 1K apartment in Tokyo. And it got to the point where like convenience of being within everything that's happening just wasn't enough. And I was like, wait a minute, I can move to Kanagawa and be 45 minutes away to an hour away from most things as opposed to 15 minutes away from most things. And there'll be so many more benefits to that than there was with my previous place. And the other thing is like, it's true, like people in Tokyo are pretty cold. Like everything sort of seems like a business decision almost, or like everything is done for maximum efficiency. And like there is no reason why you would ever talk to someone who's just a stranger on the street or even like smile at them unless you wanted something from them. That's kind of what it felt like. It felt kind of like, yeah. And I'm not saying the rest of Japan is great when it comes to people being social. Like it is known to be a pretty introverted, antisocial country. But Tokyo is really the exemplar of that, right? Like it's the worst version. And I was like, holy shit, I just need a place where people are a little more friendly. Like they just look at me, even acknowledge me, and smile sometimes when we pass on the street. And it's not always going to be all the time. That would be creepy. But just sometimes acknowledging my existence and make me feel less like a pawn. And like, you know? And so I moved to Kanagawa, and even 45 minutes outside of Tokyo, people are different. Even that, there's just a slight difference. Like people actually treat you like a human. You're not just another cog in the machine. And it made me angry to think that I had moved to the most antisocial city in the most antisocial country in the world, arguably. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I'm no extrovert, but I need more than this, you know? I want to be treated like a human being. And I found that even moving to Kanagawa, I am treated like so much more of a human being. And it's not perfect, but it's like, at least I have a chance to relate to people, you know? And I was just so sick of that. I was so sick of that. And so I'm glad I moved. And now, also, the bonus is that I now have a normal sized apartment. I have like an apartment with 3 whole normal sized rooms in it. And I'm paying only a couple $100s more than my old place. And there's a forest close to my house. Like, it's nice, you know, it's so much better in so many ways, and totally worth being a little bit farther from Tokyo and everything going on there. So my advice, if you want to move to Tokyo, my advice would be to not move to Tokyo proper, but to move somewhere a little bit on the outskirts. It doesn't have to be in the total boonies, just a little bit on the outskirts. So you have the chance to actually breathe every day and not feel cramped and congested and stuck with all these other people. And maybe the people around you will actually treat you a little more like a human being. And you still have access to all this great stuff in Tokyo, but rent will be a little cheaper and it'll be a little quieter. And there will probably be less construction because construction is fucking everywhere in Tokyo and in big cities in Japan. There's still going to be construction, but it's not going to be building these giant high rises that take... Oh yeah, that's the other thing. My other place. Okay. I didn't know when I moved in that 2 months after I moved in, they were going to sequester the vacant lot right next to my apartment and start building a high rise, which was going to take 13 months to build. So for about an entire year, for 6 days a week, for an entire year, I was inundated with the fucking loudest construction noise you've ever heard. I was being tortured, basically. I mean, you know. And I was sick of that. Another reason why I moved. And also the water in my shower like made my skin itchy. And I had to use a filter. And the filter worked for a while, but then it stopped working. I got a new filter. And somehow that filter still didn't work. So I was like, fuck this. What the fuck is going on? I need to move. But anyway, that's a tangent. Yeah, so you're still going to get construction on individual houses, but the chances of them building a giant high rise right next to your house is a lot less, even a little bit outside of Tokyo, because it's not the most in demand real estate ever. Okay, I think I said everything I need to say. So, if you're thinking of moving to Tokyo or even moving to the Kanto area, I really recommend you move just a little bit outside of it, just so you have that peace of mind. And then you can go into Tokyo whenever you want and just you fucking have a good time and it's fine. And I think if you're worried, like I think I was worried that if I didn't live in Tokyo, in the middle of things, that I would not have a life and that I would be stuck basically in the boonies in the way I kind of was before moving to Tokyo. Um but I figured out that like even in Tokyo, I still didn't really have a life or like it was still hard to make friends and even if I lived within a pretty active place, like if I wanted to get anywhere else to like go party or whatever, like the trains would still stop running at midnight. So I would still have to go home by midnight to my own neighborhood. So it's the same difference as moving living a little bit outside of Tokyo and still having to do that. You know what I mean? Unless you wanted to party in your own neighborhood, but that rarely happened because all your friends live in different neighborhoods, right? So, yeah, anyway, that's all I have to say. So I'm saying like if you really want to be in the center of it all, like maybe do that for a year, but like get a lease where you don't have to pay a bunch of money to break your lease early because that's another thing that I had to do. Um yeah, get a lease month to month or maybe 1 year. I have a feeling that after a year of living in the middle of everything, you will want a change and you will want quiet, peace and quiet, and the option to feel that. Yeah, okay, I think that is everything. Thank you for listening. Bye.